Imagine a new kind of investing, a potentially life-changing way to invest that honors biblical principles, the kind of principles that you and I grew up with. Since 1994, Timothy Plan has made biblically responsible investing possible, offering mutual funds and ETFs that are filtered for biblical principles. Don't compromise your values. Invest with Timothy Plan. Ask your financial advisor or call Timothy Plan at 1-800-TIM-PLAN. Again, that's 1-800-846-7526 and discover what it means to be a biblically responsible investor. Investing involves risk, including possible loss of principal. Before investing, carefully consider a fund's investment objective, risks, charges, and expenses contained in the prospectus available at timothyplan.com. Read carefully before investing. Mutual funds distributed by Timothy Partners Ltd. and ETFs distributed by Foreside Fund Services LLC. As a paid testimonial, there is no guarantee of future performance and each experience will differ. Well, hello again. Welcome to another MemoPod with me, your host, Peter Hill. Glad that you are with us for another edition. Whether you are a free subscriber or a paid subscriber, it is great to have you aboard. Also want to be sure to encourage those of you who are free subscribers, just give us a shot, What does it hurt? It doesn't. $10 a month. Or if you want to get the $20 off, just do $100 for the full year. It'll start right when you do it and go until the next year at right that same time. So would love to have you part of our subscriber. You'll get the second half of today's MemoPod, where I need to talk specifically about Nikki Haley and something that, and this is weird because I didn't like it that she said this, even though in a weird way, it's something that I've always thought myself. It seems confusing, but that's coming up in the second half. I'll talk more about that in a little bit. But most of you know my personal feelings about the former President Donald Trump, number 45, and you know that he is not in any way, shape, or form someone that I want to see on the ballot in 2024. Certainly not of a party that wants to maintain and to advance conservative ideas and principles. I don't think it's a good choice. I think it's a good choice for conservatives. I don't think it's a good choice for the gospel. I don't think it's a good choice for, it's not good for the country to have two dudes over 80 on the major party ballots. There's a number of reasons why I don't think that. All that being said, this effort on the part of the Democracy Party, the people that have talked about, how January 6th was a threat to democracy and how, we have to save democracy. And Washington Post makes, during the Trump years, their masthead, you remember what it said? It said, democracy dies in darkness. It's like all of these folks on the progressive side of the aisle believe that they are defenders of democracy. And yet you look, who is it that is doing their best to remove people's names from ballots and prevent people, democracy, from being able to choose individuals that they want in positions of authority. Do I want people to choose Donald Trump? I do not. Do I want the Republicans to have an opportunity to have someone like Ron DeSantis or before him to have somebody like Tim Scott and choose to go with Donald Trump? It's mind-boggling to me and unbelievably frustrating to me. It truly, truly is. However, I don't think the solution to that is to remove him from the ballot and not allow people that want to vote for him to vote for him. That's anti-democratic, and yet that's exactly what we're seeing on the progressive left. Here is how CNN Breaking News told this story. This was from a couple weeks ago. I mean, it's you can almost read into it the giddiness that befits exactly what they've become, a left-wing propaganda network. Here's how they delivered the news. Voters in Illinois and Massachusetts seek to remove Donald Trump from the 2024 primary ballot based on the insurrectionist clause. Okay. I'm going to be as blunt as I can possibly be right now. Straightforward, maybe is the way to say it. I legitimately do not understand how it fails to register with folks making this concerted, this organized, this nationwide effort to remove Trump from the Republican primary ballot, that they don't realize how it all makes them look. How does it not dawn on you that the non-radicalized majority of our population will, if they actually take the time to see it, because here's where I think the majority of the population is, they just don't pay attention. But they're not radicalized, many of them don't pay attention. And then you've got a sector that does pay attention and they're not radicalized. But then you have what I think is the large contingent of our political world, political populace, and they are radicalized, either to one side or the other. But how does it not dawn on you that you look like a fool when you're doing this kind of thing? You call yourself a defender of democracy, even as you take significant time away from your family, away from your job, away from your civic life, just to dedicate it to what? People spending a ton of time going out there working hard to limit democratic options for people when they go in to vote. I don't know. Obviously, I get the impulse to purge the public square of any diverse, any contrarian, any non-progressive voice. That should have always been a reminder to us that on the left, and the modern Democratic Party that controls the left, they have little interest in observing, much less saving, democratic principles. You cannot have had the mode of operation that the progressive left has had over the course of the last generation and still claim to be interested in democratic principles. This is the same movement that, remember, fought so hard to discredit Fox as a legitimate news operation. Why? Because they weren't peddling the same propaganda, the progressive propaganda of the other networks. And so therefore, they went all out to try to besmirch them and to take away any reputation as a news organization from them. Rush Limbaugh, the concerted effort, consistent concerted effort to take him off the airwaves. The concerted effort to conspire with all of the censoring ideologues that run all of the major social media platforms until Elon Musk. Whether it was Jack Dorsey at Twitter, whether it was Mark Zuckerberg at Facebook, and so on and so forth, and Instagram, so on and so forth. They desire to censor people and ideas that they don't agree with. Why would it be so weird, and why should we have been surprised that they take the next logical step? A movement that wants to pick who can be on the radio, and you have to have at least progressive adjacent views. Rush Limbaugh got to go because he's a conservative. Fox News, no, not a legitimate news organization. We're going to dismiss them. We're not going to let them be sat at the White House press briefing room because they're not legitimate news. And social media, all of it. Jack Dorsey and the Twitter folks and what was his name? Yoel Roth, that worked for Twitter and just censored the snot out of conservative content. A conservative content that they said was not fake news, but they said that it was conspiratorial, and then it ended up being right. That's the point of free speech. But a movement that wants that and does that, why should we ever be surprised that they'll just take the next step, which is remove your troublesome political rivals from ballots? And by the way, it's not just Donald Trump receiving this kind of treatment. Robert F. Kennedy Jr. on the Democrat side, he's getting the same kind of treatment. Just step back and have the courage to take off your blue-tinted glasses, like the red and blue states. Take off the blue-tinted glasses and realize that it's not all anti-democratic insurrections happening at the Capitol that threaten democracy, if you want to call it that. They don't. They occur. They're occurring all around us in all of these states. And yet, nevertheless, this dangerous precedent of political ballot manipulation, it continues apace from the Democrats. The U.S. Supreme Court has announced that they're going to intervene and they're going to rule on the effort, and it's obvious to anybody with a brain what they're going to say. Not because of who nominated them and not because of their own ideology, but the argument itself is so foolish. You remember what I said, the insurrectionist clause. Okay, the argument that an individual state can arbitrarily act as judge, jury, and executioner on the basis of the 14th Amendment's insurrection clause, if you want to call it that, it is fundamentally in error. That isn't even close to being accurate. The insurrection clause isn't predicated on your politically motivated feelings. You deciding, well, I think they really want to be in office, and I think that they may be trying to organize that. So that's an insurrection. Now, it's not whatever your feelings are. It's not your sentiments regarding what constitutes an insurrection. An insurrection is a thing. There is a legal definition, and it's adjudicated in court. It's not determined by David French's unintentional comedy bits that he's writing for the New York Times, where he imagines that an 84-year-old grandma that wandered into the Capitol building on January 6th, that she represents a greater threat to the preservation of American government, or at least is on par with, if not greater threat, than Robert E. Lee's Army of Northern Virginia that waged war against the United States. No, insurrection has a meaning, and Donald Trump has not been found guilty of an insurrection. Therefore, any attempt to legally expel him from a primary ballot based on a crime that he has not been convicted of committing, it's a legal non-starter. And that's why I'm frustrated beyond belief. Now, again, none of this means, I have to say this again, I'm not carrying Trump's water. None of what I'm saying right now means that Trump is fit for office, or the fact that we're even having this conversation. Well, he didn't really lead an insurrection. I mean, just the fact that we're having the conversation, it would seem as though we're saying something, we're acknowledging something, that the former president endangered the stability of our system of government. I mean, that's the conversation that we're having. That isn't good. Okay? What this does mean, though, is that in their hatred for Donald Trump, the Democrats continue to radically overplay their hand, which is the one thing that Donald Trump needs. It is the one thing that he desperately needs. So listen, I would say this to the folks on the left. It's one thing to believe and even campaign against Donald Trump on the basis that you believe he is a traitorous insurrectionist. Okay, do that. Make the case. Let the people hear the case. If that is what you think, then you are free to tell everyone why Trump is a bad choice. That's fine. But it remains the very textbook definition of anti-democratic to work towards preventing Republicans from having the opportunity to decide for themselves who they want. Be interested in your thoughts. PeterHeck.com, that is Peter@PeterHeck.com. If you're wondering why the first half of this is going to be a little bit shorter, you haven't been listening. Because I just came back from that senior class trip. I am beat, my voice is shot, and I need to rebound before next week, which I will. So if you are a free subscriber, this is where we leave you. If you are a paid subscriber, I want you to come back after the break because I want to talk about Nikki Haley. I want to talk specifically about something that Nikki Haley posted that I really wish she wouldn't have. And some of you are going to say, but wait a minute. I know why you're going to say it, and I want to talk about it. Okay? Fair enough? All right. Free subscribers, would love to have you give us a shot and join in on this Nikki Haley conversation. You can do it on the link that came in your email. The rest of you, hang tight after the break, and we'll hit this Haley stuff. All right? See you in a second.
The Memo with Peter Heck.
Please patronize and thank all the sponsors of the Heck podcast, including McGonigal's Buick GMC, Terrell's Auto Service, Norris Insurance, Stevens Machine, Creative Financial Center, Indiana Right to Life, Tri-Green Tractor, the Indiana Family Institute, Hartman Family Farms, Liberty Financial Group, the Wyman Group, and J. Watson Creations.